Hello, readers. Welcome to Book Launch, the best thing to happen to Tuesday since tacos. I'm Kelly Lynn Colby, editorial director at Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing, and tonight we're celebrating the release of the Harmony Parasite, Book 3 in the Mutagen Deception series. They fled their world to escape death, but it may have hitched a ride. And we have on the author, Gregory D. Little, and the copy editor, S.G. George. Sit down and enjoy the excitement. Also, you don't have to sit down if you want. I mean, you can stand up, you can cheer, that wasn't really an order, however you feel like enjoying your books, I'm okay with.
Would you like some polite claps? We can get some of those going.
The polite claps? Does that help? Are we golf clapping now? I don't think we have to be quiet. I think it's okay. I think we're all right. Yeah, Northern Lights has some kind of dancing rainbow bread on. I mean, that's kind of cool.
I'm kind of finding it hard not to look at it.
Right? Or it's just because, I had ice cream for dinner. I don't know. Because, Greg, you had some kind of frozen yumminess for dinner, too, didn't you?
Yeah, we kind of did froyo for dinner. So
there you go. How about you, Sarah? Did you have something frozen and delicious for dinner?
I haven't even had dinner yet. I went to the store to pick up dinner, and I'm going to be streaming for the next 4 hours. I'm going to do this show, and then I'm going to do my show afterwards because I can't skip it. I haven't streamed in a month.
I must get on. I must stream. Oh, awesome. Well, luckily we'll have something to talk about on here, so I love it. And I do want to congratulate Greg on this third book in your series. You have it halfway done. How does that feel?
Pretty kind of crazy, honestly. Every time I finish one of these, I'm like, I can't believe they're letting me publish them.
Letting you, demanding. What are you talking about? You have deadlines and you make them. So, I mean, that's impressive. No, I love it. Look at all the awesome people on ready for it. And for everyone on, just, this is the third book in the series. So we will try not to do spoilers, but I make no guarantees.
And Jen, there's going to be 6 books in the series total. Yep. I just yesterday turned in the second draft of the 4th book after much struggle.
I'm an editor and I do this to them and I feel a little guilty, but then I read it and then I don't feel guilty at all.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say that's your fault, Greg, for doing a good job. Sorry.
Well, if we're doing a bad job the first time and then hopefully a good job the second time, we'll say that remains to be seen, I guess.
I will tell you, though, you ready for a little editor secret? Sarah, you're going to have to back me up to see if you are like this as well. I tend to be a little harsher with the edits when I know the author can take it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
There's some people I very much baby. I'm like, oh, yeah, we're just going to let that one slide.
You spelled blue right. Good job.
Yeah. Some people get a lot more praise in their books, and some people I know, and the people who get like the sarcasm comments, those are the ones that I like working with.
Yes.
Whenever I get Sarah's edits back, the proofread, I'm always like, please just have her only have found like one plot hole and not like 4. Because she always finds at least one that both Kelly and I have completely like blanked on.
We've been through it so much.
and I'm just like there was a pretty substantial one on this book actually that I had to do a fair amount of fixing to fix. And it was funny because I was like, I was reading through, I was like, is there a plot hole here? And then like a few pages later, you're like, there's a big ass plot hole here. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Was it the train? Is that what we're talking about?
It might have been. I honestly can't remember at this point, but it required a little bit of finagling to fix.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm having to go back and make sure I didn't add in a bunch of copy edit errors, which I probably did. But since that's the last pass. But,
yeah.
Well, that's also what the beta readers are for. So I do want to give a shout out to our awesome beta readers.
Yes.
Because when we send that out, we love to get the lists back that say, hey, you missed this and this. And we're like, thanks, we'll fix it right now. So that is very handy. So we love it. Let's see. We have the moms have joined us. Welcome, moms. And it's book 3 and can't wait to read it. Thank you, Spike It. Yeah, Two Dork says that he lives for the haha comments that I put in, right? That's the. But see, that's the thing, Greg. Like I usually tear apart your first versions because you're a pantser, right? You sit down. But the second version, I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, usually I get it. You nailed it on the second version.
That's right. That's right. Maybe we should knock on wood since I haven't done the second version of book 4 yet.
We'll see. By the end of that edit, I was like, I can't tell up from down anymore. So I'm just...
it's your problem now. That's right. No, I feel that. I love it. So make sure to get that. So this one is amazing. We're very excited about it. So we have the stuff happens in Coldgarden. And so now they have left Coldgarden and arrived in this new planet, Anaranjado. Thank you.
It's Spanish for the color orange.
Yes. And I just can't seem to say it because I always put an N at the end because that's what the people are called, right? Who live there. So it confuses me. And I have to say, this is a very inhospitable planet. As you can see on the cover, right? It's one of those tidally locked planets around the sun. So it is all sunny on one side and all dark on the other side. So I'm wondering, why did humans colonize this planet to begin with?
Well, it gets into it a bit, but without getting too deep into spoilers, we will just say that it wasn't advertised that way in their searching for potential habitable world. They arrived and it was somewhat different than they expected it to be.
It's a lemon.
Yeah, it's a bit of a lemon.
Not an orange at all.
Yes, I should have named it Lemon, which I don't know the name for. But no, that's my very poor joke.
But he is on. She could tell us.
My very poor joke is that the star, it's orbiting is an orange dwarf star, and so I named the star Naranja, which is orange, the fruit, and then the planet is orange, the color. So that's the very, very. It was very amusing to me, but probably only me.
That's right. We get your sense of humor in the next book, which we'll talk about later, but we're very excited about. But so this one on the front, we have Gianna.
Yes.
And why did you choose to put Gianna on the front of this?
Because Sarah did a word cloud. We were going to put, I think, Mari on the front because we felt like she needed a cover. And then Sarah did a word cloud of the book, which subtracts out like the common words like, A and B and looks for uncommon words, but what shows up the most. And like bigger than anything else by a huge margin was Gianna. And I was like, well, I guess we have to put Gianna on the cover based on that. I messaged Kelly on Discord and I was like, I think we need to change up the cover plans.
Yeah. No worries. It was easy enough. Jen says, clearly it's because she's smoking hot. They're all smoking hot on these covers, man.
That's right. Yeah. Bunch of improbably hot people.
That's right.
And the funny thing, because you always see on these word clouds, I do them fairly frequently, is you always see like the main character's name and like the two supporting characters or whatever. This, you only saw Gianna. I think Carl was made the cut by like this much. Like he was tiny and Gianna is over here and she's huge.
Yeah, no, it's funny. And there's a reason that makes perfect sense when you read the book why her name comes up the most by that huge of a margin, but it's spoiling, so I won't say. But it occasioned a lot of good-natured ribbing from Sarah to me about why it showed up so much. So we'll talk about it on the next book because then it won't be a spoiler.
Then it won't be a spoiler yet. It's so hard to not do spoilers.
Especially the third book.
Right. So like I said, there will be spoilers for book 1 and 2, but there's not much we can do about that. So what we do need is that in the after book 2, we had multiple kinds of aliens going on, right? So we have some aliens, which was kind of like the immune system for the planet. We have aliens that were kind of like a disease on the planet. And then and then we have humans, right? Which weren't exactly human anymore.
Right.
So this book, I was like, I'm a little confused. I think Sarah was a little confused too, right? Because we had all of these things going together. So you had to divide them up. So can you as we start this next book, can you kind of give us a breakdown of these aliens so we know what we're looking at?
As far as what they look like?
Yes. So when we're reading it, we know what they are. Just give us a little.
So we'll call them the natives, the Coldgarden natives
Mhm.
are they are kind of like worm-like flat big worm things with big gaping mouths, but they have kind of bone spider legs coming out the sides,
Mhm.
or insect legs, whatever you want to call them.
Mhm.
And then the revenants are also have insect legs. I have a thing for insect legs, clearly. But they're more like hard insect chitinous carapaces. And they can kind of change their shape, change their configuration, grow extra legs, you know, at will. And then the third are the disease monsters, which we give a name in book four finally. Um, and they are more like they're sort of glow when they're in their true form. They're sort of glowing a sickly white. They have many different limbs. They're sort of amorphous, many different limbs, almost sort of amoeba-like. But if the amoeba little extensions had like too many joints in the thing, so almost like like a scorpion's tail or something, I guess. I don't know. There's so they're all I do try to be good about frequently reminding you of what the different types of things look like when they're transforming, because I recognize that I'm asking readers to keep track of a lot of different horrible monsters, each of which have their own terrifying properties. Um,
Yeah. I think in this book particularly, it became very clear,
yeah,
Yeah.
right? Which each one was. Do you agree with that, Sarah?
Well, in behind the scenes, I started a new editing system where I was going to keep track of everything in the book. Every character, every event, every location I kept track of. And so I labeled these creatures the bugs, the worms, and the slugs, and I put them into little different
that's a pretty
categories.
that's a pretty good. If you're going into just by single word descriptors, that you could do a lot worse than that as a reminder system. Yeah.
I like it. It's very clever.
Well, it didn't help that they the revenants are the bugs. They have a name. Like they're super easy. They're the most established ones. And then everybody else is just kind of like, we're a monster. And so I needed something to refer to them by. And I'm like, worm, slug.
Yeah. And that's why I finally give the third creatures a name in the fourth book, because I'm like, I can't keep calling them like just disease people or something. I have to give them
Mhm.
something. So I do finally give them a proper name um, in that book. But yeah, it's I don't know. I just keep having to come up with monsters. I guess I don't know. Not sure what that says about me, but yeah.
Well, also in this book, you introduce new bad guys. They're ones already on the planet.
Yes, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the natives of Anaran Honda?
So, because it is such a harsh world with these extreme temperatures, no matter which side of the planet you're on, there's a thin stretch in the middle where it's basically permanently twilight, where the temperatures are more tolerable. And not surprisingly, that's where all the richest people live. Um, most people, because it's very hard to grow food, and what they do have a massive overabundance of is free solar energy, basically, because they've got this one side of the planet that's being permanently baked by the sun. Um, Most people on the planet have augmented themselves, replaced a lot of their biological parts with cybernetic parts. And it basically, the reasoning behind that is they don't have to, if they're able to have like an arm that's mechanical, it runs on a power source that they could recharge easily. The less
With the solar.
biological stuff they have, the less calories they need to eat. And so the difficulty of growing food becomes less of a problem if you don't need much food. And so the less biology you are, the less food you need. And then, sort of in a paradox to what you might normally think in this sort of situation, the richest people on the planet, who are called the Equatorians because of where they live, they are the most sort of baseline human. They're the closest thing to what you would consider a normal human, and so it's a status show of wealth and status that they don't have to augment themselves, that they can command enough resources, enough food to keep themselves as normal as possible. So I wanted to, because I felt like the trope would be that
Flip it.
they would be the ones that upgraded themselves, but I thought
Yep.
it would be interesting if they as a kind of as like a peacock, wastes all this resources on having this huge tail to show how fit they are. These people, they're flagrantly eating food that is not easy to grow or acquire to demonstrate their wealth and their power. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like being really fat was super attractive back in the day because it showed you had access to that kind of resources.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And now we're super fat because we eat McDonald's because it's cheaper. That's August's like, wait, is that not true anymore? No, but the wealthy still get the best food. So there's
but now they spend $100 on a plate this size.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So, so the wealthy upper crust of this society are, well, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, not the nicest people. They're up to no good, as often happens with humans, and
upper Johnny crust.
And so, since we've done a couple of books of these biological creatures, I wanted to play around with, okay, now we have this planet full of people who have like technologically augmented themselves. And then on the flip side, there's also a cult that lives down in the darkest, coldest parts of the planet, and they've gone the entire opposite direction, and they've augmented themselves, almost totally replaced all their biology with cybernetics as much as they can possibly do. So
as much as they can get away with, and it still work.
Yes.
No, I love it. And I just as you're describing the world, I just want you to know, thanks a lot. What I say thanks a lot for is when I'm trying to put in what category your book goes under. We've got, now it's definitely science fiction horror. So if we're talking big category, that is definitely what it is, right? But there's also a lot of mystery involved in this book, right? Mm-hmm. There's a mystery over who's who and who really is the bad guy. Is there only one? What if it's your neighbor, right? Like there's more to it.
Right.
And there's other stuff it's hard to talk about. And then, but you've got the genetic engineering, you've got the cyborg kind of thing going on. Mm-hmm. You've got alien invasion, right? So you've got all of these things going on. So I'm just wondering, is there anything in your life that's simple?
I like, I guess, I like complex ideas, mm-hmm. And so I get if and I want to preface this by saying I always in admiration when a writer or whoever can take a simple premise and execute it really well. I try to take a simple premise and try to execute it as a writer, and I get bored. So I'm like, how can I make this weirder? And like that's honest to God. If I get like in a writer's block situation, that's my fallback. Is like, okay, how can I make this weirder and therefore more interesting to me?
Well, that explains what happened at Town Hall.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yes, I know that scene.
Oh my gosh.
I got a special DM from Sarah when she got to a specific scene in this book. It was basically like a gif of a guy just saying what the F.
You're like, you're killing me, man. You're killing me over here. Hi, Cloak and Hound. Welcome. And Jessica Rainey is on also. So.
And so many people on tonight.
I know. You need to come on all the time, Greg.
Yes, so.
No, I guess you're going to have to write more books so that we have more reasons to launch them.
You can look at Greg. He's like,
There's so many.
No, Greg's already in the 2-book a club year, or a two books a year club. Look, I can't even say it, let alone join it yet. So you're in the 2 books a year club. And then we decided, a bunch of our authors, that we want to join the club. And you were like, are you sure you want to join the club?
I'm just saying, really think about the club. It's a commitment. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm enjoying it. There are times where several things stack up at the same time and I'm a little like, but we're making it work. And since Kelly's sometimes behind on stuff, I can be like, I'm falling behind, and she's like, I'm also behind. I'm like, okay,
No
good.
worries.
We're on the same page here. It's all good. We'll make it up at the end, I'm sure.
That's right. We'll make it up in the end.
Why?
Well, I want to. Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
Why am I fighting so hard to meet deadlines?
Oh, we work really hard to meet deadlines too.
I do.
Working
I
hard
honestly
to make them doesn't mean we necessarily make them.
It's honestly like physically painful for me when I'm late on a deadline. And I just turned the one I just turned in yesterday is like 2 weeks late. So that was really like.
All good. I still won't get to it for 2 weeks. So no, we're fine. Greg, I'm going to be late on the next one, just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will have to say, on our Discord, which, by the way, if you're not on our Discord, you should totally join because it's a ton of fun. You just go cursdragonship.com/Discord. But we talk a lot. I think you have actually converted a few of our members to liking spiders.
Yes.
How have you gained the spider reputation, Greg?
I think it's because, well, I like spiders. I've always liked spiders. But my first series, Unwilling Souls, featured a giant jumping spider that becomes the sort of friend / pet / sometimes mount of the main character. And I make it simultaneously, in my opinion, make her simultaneously creepy, but also like lovable. And I've had people write reviews saying, I don't like spiders, but I'm kind of into this one. And
that was me.
Yeah, and so and because I think so many people react, it's I'm a toddler at heart, but so many people react negatively when they hear spiders that I bring it up as often as possible, and then eventually via the exposure effect, I desensitize you all.
Is that how it works? That's how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, it works for me. So it's also because it's the jumping spiders. I mean, they're kind of cute.
Those are the ones
big eyes
with the water droplet heads.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I love those.
I mean, they're adorable. I mean, I like the jumping spiders. If you were doing the big old wolf spider in Australia, that's supposed to be harmless, but it's as big as my head. I still can't get behind that. I just can't. So Sarah, having done this, and you've done all the books, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yes. So who is your current, because they change a lot after this book, who was your current favorite character?
I like Carl. I like old man energy, and he is trying his best to keep up with these strong, independent, maybe women, and I root for him so much.
I like Carl a lot. Yeah.
You got me on maybe women. I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, Carl gives off big time like I am doing my best here energy for sure. That's yeah.
Yeah, because he tries to like protect, right?
Yeah.
But they don't need his protection exactly, but kind of.
Yeah.
Not exactly. So yeah.
he tries to be there and be useful in whatever way he can.
Without dominating, which is really nice. So
yeah, he's a well, I liked because he's an ex-soldier. I guess starts out a soldier, is later an ex-soldier. Soldier in the context of these worlds. These are made up organizations.
Yeah.
And I liked playing with the idea of playing with that stereotype a little bit. You expect soldier characters to be a certain way, and I liked turning that on its head a bit with him. He's kind of a gentle soul on a lot of levels. In some ways more gentle than some of the other people in the book. So I liked, you heard the term like philosopher king. I always think of him as sort of a philosopher soldier, kind of an idea. But
Book 5, he's just writing a memoir. He's like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this nonsense. I'm
gonna do all of this shit. Yeah.
That's right. He should say that a lot in the next book. That's it. I love it. And Shelly's on too. It says, "Happy book birthday, Greg."
Thank you.
Let's see. We had a question on here somewhere. Northern Lights wanted to know, who was your favorite character to write?
My favorite is always Mari. In these books. My favorite to write is definitely Mari. I know authors are supposed to say that every character is their favorite, but I think that's usually BS and that they actually all have favorites. But Mari is my favorite because she is funny, but she doesn't realize she's funny, and that's part of the reason she is so funny. And that's a kind of humor that I very like. Contrast that to Belle, who we'll see in the new series, who is funny, but very much knows she's funny and is trying to be funny. Mari is kind of the opposite, where she's extremely funny, but in a way that is kind of she's oblivious to. And just her sort of, she's often the savviest one in the room, even though she's just a kid and is surrounded by adults. Because she lived kind of a hard childhood. She is often kind of the wisest one, or at least the most street smart character.
Yeah, she's like innocent and wise at the same time. It's really cool.
And she knows, in some cases she will kind of go along or pretend to go along with what the adults are saying while secretly knowing that they're wrong and planning to completely do the opposite as soon as their backs are turned. So she's a lot of fun to write.
I love it. So Sarah, if you were going to give a prompt to Greg for a story to write, I want you to think about it. What prompt would you give him? Where do you think his strengths are as a storyteller?
Well, if I'm going to give him a prompt, I'm going to give him something challenging. So I would do like, please write something about a cute date at a coffee shop.
Oh, God.
Where nobody dies and nothing turns into a giant spider.
No! Could you write that, Greg?
I think I probably could, but I would probably get bored pretty quickly, so it would need to be a short scene.
He's like, she didn't say no one could turn into a troll.
No, I do. I do enjoy an occasional, foray into something, because I feel like you need some normalcy, right? Or else the weirdness eventually just becomes overwhelming. So there needs to be some moments where you lose relatability if everything is just totally bonkers all the time. There needs to be some degree of some even if it's minor, in my case, touchstone that you can point to and say that I can relate to this character because they're doing this or they're having this problem, or I don't know. You guys are laughing. Maybe I don't do that and just think I do.
No. They've got recommendations for you. Spikette wants a rom-com with no spiders. Two Dork says a buddy road trip adventure with a werewolf and a robot.
A werewolf and a robot. If I can take a fairly liberal definition of the terms werewolf and robot, then that sounds interesting. But,
Oh my gosh, I love it. I mean, you might have some characters that fit into that one. William says that he also loves Mari. Yeah, we love Mari.
Oh, thanks, William. That's nice to hear.
I agree. And also Dante says hi.
Hi, Dante.
So, and says thank you for doing different planets.
Oh, yeah. So the funny story there, we'll get into a little bit of the sausage getting made here, if people don't mind. I wrote the first book with more or less as a standalone, and because at the time they were like this. I wrote the first draft of the first book is like over 10 years old at this point. It's a long time ago. And at the time, the advice was like, if you're trying to get traditionally published, you write a standalone with the potential for sequels, because they get spooked when you say, I've got this 17-book series and it's all planned out.
Yep.
So I wrote that book kind of as a standalone, but with the potential for sequels, but I didn't really have a sequel idea in mind for it. So when I sent it to Kelly and she said, we want at least 3. And so I said, okay. So then but the problem is this book with this big, she's like, do you think you can do that? And I'm like, and like, I had no idea. But
just say yes at the beginning of your career, right? That's what you learned. Just say yes.
And so she said, or so I was like, okay, because it's the book with this big twist in it. And like a lot of times in a story with a big twist, like the twist is kind of the thing that everything pivots around. But if you dig down too deep, it starts to fall apart, right? It's like the twist happens, the story ends, boom, you're done. So now I didn't want to lose the twist, but now I had to continue it on to something else. And I'm like, I haven't really built this world with like 3 books in mind. It's like, I think I can get one more book out of this world. And then we're going to need to change settings. And so that was book 2 was we can get one more book out of this.
Mhm.
And then we did a big thing at the end, which I won't spoil, but that results in them going a different place.
Pretty awesome.
And so I built Anna and Hado with a little bit more staying power in mind. So that was kind of the reason we did a big setting change partway through the series, is because I hadn't planned on having that many books set on Coldgarden.
Well, as a 6-book, because this is 6-book series, as we talked about earlier, and you kind of have it like 2 books, 2 books, 2 books, like they kind of go together that way. So on the last 2 books, is it going to be a different setting?
I can say now, I think that a different setting will at least feature. I don't know if it won't be entirely there, but there will be a third setting introduced. We'll put it that way.
Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful. Very excited. Sarah, do you have any questions?
Which you read you've read the first draft, so you should know a little bit about what that setting is.
Yeah, before we went live, Greg and I were like, okay, we have to forget the 4th book and just talk about the 3rd book. Hold on, we gotta.
Yeah. I don't even know.
You think it is. Yeah.
Yes, Sarah doesn't even know.
I don't even know.
Nope. So, Sarah, do you have any questions for Greg?
How much? So, I have read both series that Greg is working on, and I think it's not too much to say that Belle begrudgingly is in the same universe as The Last Humans.
Yep.
And Belle features in the epilogue of Dying World.
Mm-hmm.
When you wrote Dying World, did you have a clear idea of what Anaranha was going to look like at that point?
Yes. Good
question.
This will be, we're getting into a little bit into the other series, but Anaranjado exists because I conceived of that as Belle's place of origin.
Yeah.
So that and then when I wanted to, I had the character of Belle in my head for a long time. She was just missing sort of a story to go along with her. And I had the brainstorm for that, and I approached Kelly while I was working on the second book, and said, look, I really want to look at a series to run in parallel with this one, to be set in this world. There'll be this crossover point, and then they'll go in 2 separate directions. And so you won't have to read either to get the other. If you read them both, there'll be a lot of winking nods to each other, but it's not required. Because I don't like it when you have to read 18 different things to get like a story. I want each thing to be its own separate thing. It's fine to have references and to flesh out things a little bit cross series, but I prefer them to be their own sort of thing. So anyway, I had planned on introducing this new setting, but I hadn't really planned out what it was. And so when I got the brainstorm to bring Belle into this, I said, well, what if the new setting is her world? And we just sort of weld these 2 things together. Because I already had thought out a lot of that, a lot of the aspects, a lot like the tidally locked, being too close to the star, everyone being cybernetic. That was all already in my head for Belle. So the decision to kind of merge that into this world happened as a result of me wanting to kind of work on the second series. So I pitched that to Kelly. She said, well, I said, if we do this, I can include her in the epilogue of book 2. And just to give you a taste of what she's like, give readers a taste of what she's like. And so we did that, and I sent her the first draft of Belle's first book, and she loved it, and so we decided to go with it. So
yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun for me.
It felt very like early post-credit scene from Marvel. Now they're just kind of dumb, but like like the early ones.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, and I wanted it to be I wanted it to hit a couple notes, both to have the ominous tone of the current series, the Mutagen Prime series, which I think it does, especially right at the end. But leading up to that, you get a taste of Belle's sense of humor and we'll call it irreverence. So I wanted it but I thought that the jarring sudden switch from this deadly serious, catastrophe tone going on to suddenly this snarky, office worker character who really hated her job and just wanted to make as much trouble for everyone as possible. And then suddenly she gets pulled in to this unfolding crisis against her will and not really through any fault of her own. And then you have this ominous setup for book three. I thought the jarring tones of those kind of actually worked together pretty well to kind of, it was like it was almost like a record scratch moment, and then
Yeah.
but then it rolls back and you see what it reminded me of. I'm babbling, I'm sorry. If anyone's watched Lost, the old, way back in the day, there's the scene at the beginning of season 2 where it's a completely seemingly non sequitur. This guy wakes up, he's working out on a treadmill, and then it pans out and you realize that he's at the bottom of this hatch on the island that they've spent all of season 1 trying to open. And it's just this total like, what? Like, these two things are actually related to each other. So
Wait,
that's
they're
kind of what I was
connected.
going. That's kind of what I was
Yeah.
going for, was that sort of a tone. But
Yes, we're not going to let you end it like Lost, though. I'm sorry. Sarah and I are not going to put
No.
up with that. Just for the
Mm-mm.
record. Okay.
no, it'll end better than that.
Yeah. We will not do that. Also, Shelley says she totally understands because she had the same thing when Kelly asked if her and Megan could turn their standalone into a trilogy.
Mm.
So when you were talking about making trilogy, yeah, same thing. So, and also you are like our big like otherworld sci-fi writer at Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing, and we do have a couple more that have signed on and are coming. But how does that feel to like be the first one wearing that hat and like repping the company?
It's fun. Like, I love writing crazy worlds. I mean, Unwilling Souls. I used to have a problem early on when I was writing about, I think, White Room setting, and I still get called out on that sometimes, where Kelly will be like, I don't know where they are, what's happening. And so when I sat down to write Unwilling Souls, I was like, okay, I'm going to write this world that is, the setting is so bananas that I can't help but describe it in detail because it's so interesting. So I guess I caught the setting bug there. And so now I'm always like, okay, what totally, like, now whenever I think of a new world, first thing is like, okay, what totally crazy thing is going on with this world, and how would that make people adapt to living there, kind of thing.
I love it. I love it. Well, you keep us on our toes and you give us characters we sincerely care about. So that is a gift right there. So
Well, thank you.
yeah, it's not, the mystery is very important to the story, but it's not the core of the story. The core of the story really is the journey of the characters. So I appreciate that about your writing.
I never want to be a sci-fi writer who totally sacrifices character for idea. You see a lot of that
A
in
lot.
in the genre, and
Mhm.
my touchstone there is the Expanse series. I think that's the best I've ever seen a sci-fi series that kept the big ideas but also has really powerful character work. And you've genuinely fall in love with those characters and move to tears at times by what's happening to them. And that to me was was kind of a revelation. It's like, oh, you can do this, have the big ideas, and still have the character work.
100%. And so everyone, if they're not sold yet, which I can't imagine how they can't be, on this series, and Zafo put the link up again so you can get your copy right now. And like I said, this is the last day to get those first 2 ebooks at 99 cents. So get them now while you can.
Till midnight central, yeah?
Till midnight central. No, till midnight Pacific, actually. So you got a couple more hours. What was the other thing? Oh, so so they are up there so that you can get those. We do, of course, have a philosophy that if people like you, they will also like what you write. So I'm wondering, what are you watching right now?
Let's see. We are watching. What am I? I am partway through the first season of the 3-Body Problem.
Oh, I wanted to watch that. Is that good?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I have not. We were both watching it at first. Debbie decided she wasn't a fan, so it's now kind of on me to watch it, and which means that it will take much longer because
usually when you're watching TV, it's with your wife, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. So I want to check out Fallout. I see that's getting good things. trying to think we are watching a ton right now. I haven't had time to watch much TV
You're
lately.
like deadlines.
I've been playing honestly with my free time. I've been playing a lot of Helldivers 2.
That's so funny. They were just talking about that in chat. So
yeah, I
that's
saw
funny.
that, and my brother and my cousin and my uncle and I will get on and play a few nights a week, and we're a long-term gaming quartet. We've been doing this for decades now, and it's interesting. This game has really hit all of the buttons we like, which has been the first time in a while for a game that's hit us this hard, sank its hooks in us this hard. It's a lot of fun to accidentally or accidentally kill each other when we're trying to complete objectives. Yes, manage democracy. Yes.
Is that what that game is?
So the gag of the game is that you are liberating planets and spreading democracy, and you are clearly the bad guys. You are a fascist regime that talks constantly about democracy so much that it's like it's like the countries that the Democratic Republic of Congo or the People's Republic, People's Democratic Republic of Korea. And you're like, you don't sound like any of those things.
You're like, maybe we need to look at that definition again.
Yeah. And so the game has a sense of humor to it, where there would be these little tips, and they're always like, be sure to take breaks. That is, if you want to be labeled a coward, like.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, so the whole game is suffused with this very tongue-in-cheek humor of like pretending like you're the good guys when actually you're playing the villains.
That actually does sound right up your alley.
It's a huge Starship Troopers riff basically. So if you're like the movie
that's
or the
what
book,
Tudor said.
Yeah, it's
that's
basically
cool.
that.
That's awesome. Oh, what are you listening to?
I have been I just started a new audiobook called Heavy Oceans, and it's I can't remember where I saw it. I saw something about it online. I read enough of I always try to read as little as possible of like the blurb, just enough to get a sense of the vibe, and I picked it up, and I'm only a little bit into it, but it's pretty cool. It starts out with a creepy sleepwalking scene that definitely grabbed my attention. I'm kind of flipping between that and I'm re-listening to The Eye of the World on audio, but as read by the actress who plays Moiraine on the show Wheel of Time. So they're re-releasing the audios read by her, and it's kind of interesting. I've listened to the other audios before, but it's interesting to get a different reader's take, and she's very, very good. She does audiobooks aside from acting, so this isn't her first rodeo there, but she brings a different take to it, which is interesting.
Very interesting. I love it. How about you, Sarah? Do you have time for anything fun on the side?
Sometimes. Well, I have been forced to watch Fallout, talking about watching things with your significant other when you're not particularly enthused. It's not that it's a bad show. Like it like the mystery is fun, the setting is cool. He uses like 80% practical effects. That's not the problem. The problem is that
there's lots of plot holes.
No, the practical effects are too good, and so when the robot reaches out and grabs some guy's head and then squishes it, and then brains go out everywhere, I'm like, ah!
I just don't know. Yeah, I watch it like this. Those parts.
Yeah.
I enjoy the games, and like comically over the top violence is a part of the game, so they're being true to the source material by including it in the show. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because it's easier to tolerate that sort of thing in a non hyper realistic format. Either it's like you said, if they're too good at it, it can be a little bit much. But
the first episode, it's not really spoilers to say that there's a woman who's running around like this with a fork in her eyeball. And I'm like, no, please stop.
Yeah, I can't. There are things I cannot watch, but that's why I never played that game either. I can't play games that are that violent.
Yeah.
Right. So I had someone say, oh, so you really like the show? You want to play the game? I'm like, no, I don't. Thank you. Will I watch season 2? Yes, I will, because I am fascinated. The world is brilliant. It's a really brilliantly built world. But my problem with it was I think that they spent too much time being true to the game and didn't think enough of the story.
Yeah.
I think they could have done a much better job with the story, but I'm still fascinated enough that I will watch the second. But I'm with you, Sarah, man. I'm like, nope. Tell me when it's over. Nope. Nope.
And again, I haven't watched it yet, so I can't speak to it. But from what I've read, I guess the interesting thing about what they're doing with the show is that, unlike most shows based on video games, they do like a retelling, right, or they're an interpretation of the game. This is actually what they're approaching. This is the games are canonical, and this is a story set in the world of the games, like 20 years after the latest game has happened. So like all the stuff in the games has happened in the show in the past, basically, which is an interesting take. I don't think I've seen a show do that. Not that we have a ton of video game based shows, but seems like more and more now. So.
Yeah, so I will watch this, and plus I love the main dude, the one who plays the ghoul, whose name I'm gonna forget right now. He was in Justified, was so good, and I cannot remember his name. But I adore him. He's fantastic. So
Walton Goggins,
yes, Walton Goggins, that's his name. Thank you. He is fantastic. So I just I at this point I probably just watch anything he's in. He's so good. But yeah. So we shall see. I mean, to take a character who really isn't likable at all and make you like him anyways, that's talent.
Yep.
That's talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So pretty good.
And
Tudor says he's the best part of pretty much everything he's in. Yeah, I have to agree so far. I've only seen the 2 things he's been in, but at this point I am a fan. But awesome. All right. So Greg, I would say we got off topic, but we didn't. Because this kind of way that we're talking and the things that we love, this is how this book makes you feel. The same kind of mysteries. And quite frankly, if this book was a TV show or a movie, I would also say, please tell me when it's over a few times.
Yeah.
Right, Sarah? Yeah, totally. 100%.
They start walking to the town hall and I'm out.
Honestly,
like, oh, no.
and if I'm being honest, it would probably be a little too much for me too, if it was in filmed form,
visual form.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a difference. I remember talking with my mom years back about the Lord of the Rings movies and how she thought at times that they got a little too like a little too gritty compared
Lord
to
of the Rings?
Her vision, it's like, I think just like her vision of how it was in the books. I'm like, yeah, it's different.
Oh, okay.
You can describe things in books and people can tolerate it because they can sort of gloss over parts.
You're making your own picture. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then you see it, and even if it's being done true to the books, it's like, whoa, like, it's too much. I can't,
In my brain, when his head pops, sparkles and glitter come out,
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
You're like, head pops, just words. Keep going. Don't think about it.
Yeah. So, if these ever get optioned and made into shows or movies, then, I'll have to, kind of be like this, during parts of it.
Yeah, for sure. You'd be like, I wrote that. I did write it. That's what I wrote.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's so much worse when you can see it.
Man, I'm glad this is fiction. That's what I would be saying.
Yes, fiction.
Yeah, no, I love it. Awesome. All right, well, congratulations, Greg. And now that everyone is so anxious and can't wait to get this book and the hints we got of Belle, which people will be getting more of as the weeks progress, where can people find you and your work?
I'm GregoryDLittle.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I am active in about the reverse order of that these days, so probably least on Twitter. But I guess it's X now. I refuse to call it that, though.
I'm with you. It's too confusing.
Please check my stuff out because I have a lot of fun writing it. And like I said, I can't believe I get to tell these kind of insane fever dream stories. I feel very fortunate to have teamed up with Cursed Dragon Ship on this.
Well, we are fortunate to have you. So we're so glad we met you at Superstars one year. And Sarah, so you copy edited this, but you're also a proofreader and a dev editor. If people are
And a
looking for an
dev
editor,
editor?
where can they find you?
ladybirdediting.com, or send me an email, ladybirdediting@gmail.com, directly after the show. I'm going to do a plug. We are going live on my Twitch channel, Birdie25, and from there you can reach me Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, all those sorts of fun places. If you are looking for a professional editor for your project, be it a novel or anything else, that's where you find me.
She's very
Excellent.
good.
She is. She is very good. Excellent, excellent. All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming, and we will see you. Thanks for the shout out. We will see you next week with, I think we have an update next week. So we'll see you next week. Let you know all the fun that's going on.
Woo.
Thanks, everyone.